All right, let's get into this. For this explainer, we're doing something a little different. We're not looking at some dry report. Instead, we're tuning into a collection of voices, philosophical ones, totally confused ones, and some really anxious ones. And they're all coming from this bizarre, kind of broken world. The only way we can figure out what's going on is by listening to them. And it all kicks off with this one simple question. It's literally the first thing we hear from this little guy named Blue, and it just perfectly captures the whole vibe. You know that feeling of, wait, what just happened? That sudden, profound sense of dislocation? That's what pretty much everyone we're about to meet is going through.
So before anyone can even begin to figure out why they're here, they first have to get a handle on what here even is. This first part, it's all about that big initial huh moment. These creatures are just trying to get their bearings, questioning the very basics of their new home and, where they fit into it all.
And look, their questions get super specific really fast. It's not just the big, where am I question. Blue is wondering if just sharing a color means you're connected to something. The character, Cool Doodle, is looking at these plants and thinking, are these even real? They kind of feel plastic. And then you've got the disagreeable bird, who's like a self-proclaimed physicist, just completely baffled by how you can have these little pockets of hot and cold weather right next to each other. It's like the basic laws of physics are just broken. So all these little unanswerable questions start to pile up, and it pushes them past just observing things into much deeper, more philosophical territory. They're really starting to ask the big questions. Is this whole thing a dream? Is it even a real place? And maybe the biggest question of all, does it even need to be? And right here, you see the two main schools of thought emerging. On one side, you got the fox. The fox is a skeptic, right? It's trying to find the logic in all this and is coming up empty. It's like, this doesn't feel right. It's not logical. But then you've got the dapper pupper on the other side who comes back with this amazing point. So what if it doesn't make sense? Does a rock need to understand geology to exist? It's this fantastic pushback against our need for everything to have an explanation. And then the great tree chimes in, adding this whole other layer of suspicion. It's looking at this bright, happy world and basically says, I don't buy it. It's trying way too hard to be joyful. This has to be a facade. So now we have this idea that the whole look and feel of the place could be a total fake-out, maybe hiding something much darker underneath. Okay, so this brings us to a huge theme that keeps popping up again and again, and that's size, or more specifically, the lack of it. A lot of these characters are talking about being, shrunk, like suddenly and dramatically. And this isn't just about being tiny, it's a full-blown existential crisis. I mean, if your whole physical presence in the world changes overnight, how can your sense of self not change with it? It's a shift that takes some of them from being fearsome to being completely forgettable.
I mean, this quote from the dragon just says it all, doesn't it? Its whole identity, its entire self-concept, is built on being this huge, fearsome beast. And now, it's pocket-sized. It's lost its core purpose. It's gone from a terrifying monster to something you'd want to cuddle, and it is not happy about it.
But of course, then you've got the dapper pupper, who swings in with a totally different take on the whole thing. So where the dragon sees this as a total loss of power and identity, the pupper sees it as freedom. Freedom from having to do anything. It's like, hey, I'm small now, so no one expects anything from me. I can just chill. It's the ultimate lean in to doing the absolute minimum, and honestly, you gotta respect it. Now, the fighting golem. This might be the most tragic case of what we could call an existential mismatch. Think about it. This thing was built for one reason, to be this mighty, powerful golem. But its reality, its physical size, makes that completely impossible. It's all geared up for a fight it literally can't fight. So what's its point? What's it even for now? And that question right there, what's the point? That's really our final big theme. Because once you start to accept that your world is bonkers and your own identity is kind of shaky, what's left? You're left with the ultimate question. Why am I even here?
And what's so interesting is that there's no one single answer. We see at least 3 different ways these characters try to make sense of it all. First, you've got the golem, who's stuck on its original programming, questioning its creator. Why make me if I can't do my job? Then you have Lil Dev, who's got this kind of Zen fatalistic thing going on. Well, I'm here now in this timeline. Isn't that enough? And finally, there's the great tree, whose whole purpose becomes being the resident skeptic, Its meaning comes from not falling for the cheerful act. And then the rooster comes along with this little gem of logic that just flips the whole idea of purpose on its head. It's like you can only be lost if you were supposed to be somewhere specific. But what if there was no destination in the first place? Then are you really lost, or are you just here? But yeah, not everyone has a neat philosophical trick to cope with it all. For a lot of them, the conclusion is just bleak. And here we see three pretty distinct flavors of that despair. The cave monster sees existence itself as a punishment, something you never signed up for. The walking ice just sees it as cold, empty, and indifferent, the default setting of the universe. And the mythic drake just thinks it's all random, useless chaos and frustration.
So, where does all this leave us? Well, all these different voices, all these questions, they all point to this one central conflict. It's that classic struggle, right? Our deep-seated need for things to make sense, to have a purpose, banging its head against a universe that just seems completely random and meaningless.
Yeah, and this slide really nails down those big struggles. I mean, this isn't just about weird creatures in a weird world. This is the big stuff. Logic versus chaos, free will versus circumstance, the comfort of a nice story versus a harsh reality. It's all here. At the end of the day, they're all just trying to figure out how one little consciousness is supposed to exist in this massive and different universe.
And honestly, I think this quote from the caterpillar just sums up the whole experience perfectly. Life, right? It's this super fragile thing that could just blink out of existence at any second. And if it doesn't, well then you're just stuck in limbo, a waiting room with no idea what you're waiting for.
Which brings us to our final thought. In a world that seems to have no built-in answers, no grand design, maybe the point isn't to find one. Maybe the searching itself is the point. The act of asking the questions, of trying to figure it all out, even if you know you never will. Maybe that's our real purpose.